When you have large teams and you're growing this fast and you're doing a lot of things, you sit down with your team and saying, here are the things that we're going to do because
Mhm.
they are critical to us reaching our objectives. Here's the three things we're going to tell the business we're not going to do,
Oh,
right?
great. Good. Yeah, great tip
Right?
there.
So what are we not gonna do? Because these are nice to haves. They'll be nice to have in fiscal 26 or fiscal 27, but in 25, this is what we must do, right? So we have to have those conversations and openly saying, what are we gonna give up to
Yeah.
do what we need to do? And that in itself isn't a relief, but you have to be able to have those conversations,
Yeah.
again, stemming from a foundation of trust.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of Lead for
Mhm.
Performance. I am thrilled to welcome to the studio today Sudha Dwivedi, Chief
Yeah.
People and Culture Officer at Interac. Welcome to the studio, Sudha.
Hi, Sandra. Thanks for having me today. Really excited about doing this with you today.
Okay, awesome. We're excited to learn from you. You've had many senior level positions in multiple industries and through multiple different growth stages. So let's just jump in to
Let's
learn
begin.
from your perspective. Awesome. From your perspective, what does sustainable high performance actually look like inside a modern organization? And going beyond the slogans, I'd like to say.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And so like when we talk about any organization,
Hmm.
regardless of what you do,
Hmm.
everything is done through people, right?
Hmm.
So it's
People are the org.
focusing on the people, whether you're manufacturing, production, fintech, banking, insurance, whatever, everything is done through people. So
Hmm.
really, when you focus on people and sustainable growth, you can't look at performance as a one-hit wonder,
Hmm.
right? Since we're still in that baseball mode, right? You're only as good as your last home run, right? So it's about
That's
developing that relationship with your organization. So really strong performance growth companies, it's the relationship between the people and the company, right? Just like anything, you get into any long-term friendship, long-term relationship, it's the give and the give. It's not
mhm,
the give and the take. So as an
mhm,
organization, if you are, and I like to say providing, competitive pay, great benefits. So if you or someone in your family gets sick, you know how to take care of them, that they'll be supported. They're doing valuable work, meaningful work, and they can be their true selves at work,
mm.
that really develops a long-term relationship and the growth of the organization because everything is done through people and they can, quite frankly, bring their best selves to work and do great work.
I mean, I cannot love that answer more. I've become obsessed, honestly, with bringing your best self to work. So I have to pick at that a little bit and that touches on the fact that you're not just looking at the best professional self, you're looking at the whole, like a person as the whole.
Yeah. But it's a relationship, right? So the
Yeah.
employer has the obligation to create that space, right?
Mm,
Where it's psychologically safe, it's inclusive. Again, it has all those what I just said, great offerings. So
yeah.
people know they're paid well, they have great benefits, etc., good retirement benefits as well for their future life. So that's the employer responsibility, right? And the employee responsibility is to honestly value that and
Hmm.
and bring their best selves to work.
Yep.
When I started in HR, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna date myself now, geez, look
Yeah.
who it is, like, over 30 years ago, Sandra,
Hmm.
and I've loved this profession. I love it. I love being in HR. I grew up in this profession, and I'm gonna tell you something, and it sounds hokey, but I really do believe it. Some people say, "Suda, that is so, like, sensitive," but I'm a Pisces, I'm a sensitive person.
Nice, nice.
I really believe that when you provide something best to the employees in the place of their work, it's a pay it forward mentality, right? So
Hmm.
when
Hmm.
as an employer and as an HR professional, if I can guarantee that or bring programs where people can be their best, as we just talked about,
Hmm.
and they bring that home
Hmm. Hmm.
bring that value home, and then through their home life, that creates a better community, and then
Hmm.
through that community creates a better,
Yeah.
larger community, and it's so on and so forth, right?
The
So
ripples out.
yeah, yeah. So we have I would say, an obligation as an employer to do that because it's more than who we are. It's what people bring, and not just to work, but back to their homes and back to their communities. And if
Hmm.
we all did that really well, we would live in such a great world, you know?
Amazing. That is a beautiful thought.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yes.
It really shouldn't be that difficult, Sandra. You really shouldn't.
I agree, and I love to hear it. So even to build on that thought a little bit, so you're talking about employer has a responsibility to create the
Yeah.
space where others can
Yeah.
thrive, deliver, succeed, and then that will amplify out. That is
Mhm.
very beautiful.
Mhm.
If you think back on if you then but if you flip the answer to kind of talk about unsustainable performance,
Mm.
which opposite of that, and then
Mm.
we start to think about exhaustion and burnout and disengagement and
Mhm.
all of these other things, there's a tendency to consider those individual issues, right? So we think a lot of burnout, individual did something, is doing something wrong, right? But
Yeah.
your answer is basically is leading us down to really say, no, it's a part of the environment. The system can be set up wrong for that person to succeed.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because it's our responsibility to create that safe space and that system where people can thrive. Look, burnout it's interesting and important topic to talk about
Mhm,
because I'm of a frame of mind that
mhm,
I look at work life harmony, not
mhm,
work life balance,
agreed.
because we're always unbalanced in times in our life, right?
Mhm,
So I just shared with you before we started, I have two sons, they're now adults, but when
mhm,
they were younger, it was very
mhm,
hard to balance both. And when I was going really strong at work, certainly my home life was unbalanced, right?
mhm, mhm,
Because somebody was missing out. And
mhm,
when I had to be more focused at home for whatever reason, my kid is sick, throwing up, whatever it is, it all happens at once, when you're
mhm,
working on
always.
everything hits the fan at the same time, then something is letting go at work. Somebody there is not getting the
Mhm,
best of me and the most of me. So when we think of our work lives as harmony, how do
mhm,
we is those? Because that actually just brings a different perspective to how we work.
mhm.
We're always going to be in balance. There is,
Yep,
in my mind, no such thing, you know?
yes. Yeah, I totally agree, and that's a really good way to talk about it. To me, it's also like, would you see this like you ultimately, if you think about always, we are doing the thing that's most important,
Yeah.
or priorities ultimately. It's just that
Yeah.
they can look so different across different phases of
Yeah.
life, different
Yeah.
stages of career,
Yeah.
like, or growth, right? So when
Yeah.
you in your example where you're at home dealing with your sick child,
Yeah.
you are being productive. It just looks
Sure.
different in that moment.
Yeah.
And a
Yeah.
company that recognizes that, sees you as a whole individual, understands, creates space for that, and you will come
Mhm.
back and nail
Yeah.
it to the next day, right?
I mean, look, really great organizations, and I will say
Mhm,
at Interac, we do this very well. We start
mhm,
from a position of trust. You
mm,
have no relationship with
mhm,
anybody, let alone your employer, if you don't have the foundation of trust.
yes,
So
yeah.
you trust that, you're
Mhm,
not checking the box on how long somebody was in the office or what do they do, right? You trust on the outcome, you trust on the delivery because the relationship is already strong on that foundation. So it's not about control. 'Cause when you base any relationship on control,
mhm,
it's gonna go sideways. It
yeah,
really is all about trust. And
yeah.
that's why when I talk about, like, the really strong performing organizations like Interac, you
Mhm,
know, we
mhm,
build a culture of inclusivity and we start from a position of trust. So
mhm,
when we see somebody is potentially burning out for whatever reason, you have those conversation, "Sandra, what's going on? I
mhm,
noticed this is how you're showing up today.
mhm,
How can I help?
mm.
How can I help?"
Yeah, so powerful. Simple but powerful, and it goes back to what you started with. We're just really people working
We're
together,
just
right? Like,
all working together.
mhm,
Everybody wants to do great work and be
mm,
trusted and respected by their colleagues, by their
mhm,
organization, you know?
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, no, that's really great. Thank you for sharing that. Of course, some of these things, and I know in Iraq you had the privilege of dealing with this challenge of growth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's
Pretty
like
busy. Pretty busy. Check out our website.
yes, yes. Of course, with growth, which is like a greatest challenge to have, every
Yeah.
organization wants to grow, comes with, it comes with challenges, right?
Yeah.
With including how to scale some of the programs or support for people that is, you know, that's reasonable to arrive
Mhm.
when you're smaller or
Yeah.
individually, but
Yeah.
the more
Yeah.
and more demand, more and more people, it
Yeah.
just inherently challenges a lot about traditional approaches
Yeah.
for,
Yeah.
yeah. How do you think about that?
Such a good question. I think so first of all, it goes back to the one hit wonder I was talking about. So
Mhm, mhm.
scaling and leadership development, it's not about just going to a workshop, right? It's continuous
Yes.
improvement, right?
Yes.
So it's about, when you have those folks that I want to say are really strong individual contributors, are they ready for management, right?
Mhm.
Maybe not. Sometimes strong technical people are promoted,
Yeah.
but then when they are there, what support are we giving them? Where's the coaching, the feedback loops, the 360s?
Mhm.
It's a continuous reflection of not just what am I doing, but how am
Uh-huh.
I doing it and what support am I getting? So when you are growing that quickly, it's about having those conversations, having those check-in points, and
Uh-huh.
ensuring the people that are really leading those teams are getting the support they need. Every leader has a leader. Every person has a boss. I have a boss, my boss has a
Mhm.
boss, board of directors, right? We all have to report to
Yep,
somebody.
yep,
And, I'm the first one to say, "Hey, patron, I need some help," you know, right?
yes. Yep,
And also, we also have to say when you have large teams and you're growing this fast and you're doing a lot of things, you sit down with your team and saying, "Here are the things that we're gonna do because
mhm.
they are critical to us reaching our objectives. Here's the 3 things we're gonna tell the business we're not gonna do."
Oh,
Right?
great, good, yeah, great tip
Right?
there.
So what are we not gonna do? Because these are nice to haves. They'll be nice to have in fiscal 26 or fiscal 27, but in 25, this is what we must do, right? So we have to have those conversations and openly saying, what are we gonna give up to
Yeah,
do what we need to do? And that in itself isn't a relief, but you have to be able to have those conversations,
yeah,
again, stemming from a foundation of trust. Am
yeah,
I okay to come to my leader and saying, "I'm struggling. So what do you need me to focus on?
yeah.
I can't
Um,
do
that's
everything."
so powerful that you said that. Actually, I wanna underline that and just pick at it because I think it's
Yeah,
actually seen from my own experience, organizations struggle with this because there's, in growth especially, right,
yeah,
and lots of opportunities, it's so easy for senior management to say, "Oh, we have 20 top priorities,"
yeah.
right? And
That
right? It's
means
like,
you have none. If you have 20,
there.
you have none.
You took the words out of my mouth. But I think it's so then it's easy the next step then to say, okay, let's say healthy team manager
Yeah,
recognize that. So they say, okay, let's prioritize them. Okay, great. And that's
yeah,
hard to do.
yeah.
But actually what I really like is you're saying yes to say yes and then to actually call out the no
Yeah,
priorities.
yeah,
Because so much can be lost. Let's say you say, okay, they're the top three, but the other, the 4 to 10 sound
yeah,
great, right? They
yeah,
sound
and
important
they look good on paper.
and they look good. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
So
yeah,
to actually
it's
label
more
them
about
not
Mhm.
mhm.
Yeah, but and
Sorry,
having those really honest conversations and
mhm.
also, like, reaching out, right? So whether you're having that
Yeah,
conversation with an executive team, but also to the teams that you lead, those regular this sounds like science, but it's actually just table stakes and checking in, making sure that leaders are having those regular check-ins, regular one-on-ones, regular skip levels. What are you working on? What do you need help
mhm.
on? What do you need me to remove for you? What
Yeah,
barriers can I open, unblock for you, right?
yeah.
That
Because
that
it is
really is the
ultimate
role.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, 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 please go ahead. Yeah, I thought
No, I was gonna say that really is the role of leadership, right? It's to inspire others so they can be their best selves and do their best work.
So almost like you said, the role of leadership is almost like to really be helping prioritize at different levels in alignment with within the context and in
Yeah,
alignment with what the organization is trying to
yeah,
do.
yeah.
And then removing
It's certainly about prioritization. Here are the goals that we gotta do. Here's how we're gonna prioritize them. But it's also taking the step back and giving them space to create that, giving them the
mhm,
psychological safety to say, "I don't know, Sudha, this is too much for me," or "How can you help
yeah,
me?" Or me actually saying, "How can I help you?" But bottom line is,
yeah,
Sandra, we as leaders, it's our role to help them be their best selves, reach
yes,
their goals, and inspire them to do great work. And then throw the ladder down or throw it across because then that's how they learn and grow and develop their skills as leaders because it's all about modeling that so they can take that on and do the same for their teams. You can't give what you don't get,
yes, yes.
right?
Yes. I think that's beautiful. And let those words sit with people and ripple out. It would be amazing if this was the way things just went
Yeah,
smoothly all the time. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's not that, to be honest, where this comes into
Hmm.
difficulty
Yes.
is
Okay.
when leaders lead with ego, you
Okay.
know? So
Yep.
when I see different levels of organizations, they Suda, I wanna be a manager. I wanna be a leader. And I'll say, "Well, tell me why." And, and I even give them the lead word. What inspires you to be a manager, right?
Hmm.
If the words don't come up about, help supporting others, leading others and inspiring them
Yeah.
to be their selves, and it only comes out about, "Well, that's the next level I should achieve, and I've earned it, da da da
Uh,
da." I'm like,
uh,
"Ooh, that's not what it means to be leader. That's just you wanna get the next, like, title on your resume." You know what I mean? It's not
uh,
about the title. It's a calling. Leadership is a calling.
Agreed. Again, I cannot agree more. And I did really want to ask you a little bit about, and you kind of answered it already with like the answer, like, what is it that look for going from individual contributor? Because that's the big switch, right, to
Yeah,
that first team
yeah,
leader.
yeah.
Yeah, like, yeah,
It's a
please.
great question because really strong individual contributors are great technical experts. They're great at
Mhm.
execution
Yeah,
and never miss a beat. You go, wow, Suda's great. She's so
yeah,
great at her job. She should be a leader now, you know? But it's moving from a position of what can I control as a
yeah,
technical expert versus to a position of how do you trust and build and inspire,
mm,
right? So it's moving from a position of control to trust. And some great contributors, when they become leaders,
mm,
they can't give up the control. And
yes,
that shows up in them getting in the weeds, right? And not staying in their lane, right? Because,
yes,
oh, you're doing that now, Sandra. Well, I did that job and I can actually do it better because when I was in
right,
that job, I did it better. So then
right,
you start to step in your lane, right?
yes,
Well,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I don't need that. I need some inspiration. I need some guidance. I need some,
yes,
support, but I don't need you to do my job for me. And I think that's
yeah.
the difficulty sometimes when you have really strong technical experts, they can't give up the control.
Again,
We know,
totally. Mhm.
right? As leaders, nothing is within our control because the day changes every day. You come in, you go, okay, here's my agenda. Wow, it just flipped on its head today.
Yeah. Um, I totally agree, and that is this crux switch that, happens or doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I wonder if so one of the things that it's can we make it clearer to people what is the expectation about leadership at the next level? So sometimes I wonder if that's clear to them or again
Yeah.
if it's like you say like kind of like a checkbox exercise or
Yeah.
society says I should move up or my cultural background tells me I should succeed and I go up
Yeah.
and those are those drivers that are not setting you up for the right why to move
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
but
Great
also
question.
yeah, yeah, how can we help people get better set up with that?
So I can tell you what we do at Interac. So
Great,
we
yeah.
have leadership competencies, right? And those competencies, people will see what is leader of self, what is leader of function, what is leader of organization, and how do those competencies line up against those positions. And then you
Mm,
see the impact of what needs to be delivered at those different levels, right?
yes.
And people are they self-assess to those, they get goals
Mm,
against those, right? So when you say and they're all public, they're all on their intranet, right?
yeah, yeah.
So everyone, each employee can see, oh, here's what a leader of self is responsible for. Here's what a leader of function, leader of
Mm.
organization, or right. So then they can write their goals to that. They can assess to that. They can train to that. We can put in leadership programs to that, individual development plans to that to see how they are progressing in their leadership journey.
Oh, that's a really great practical
Yeah,
tip and, out there
yeah,
to make this all very visible and clear,
yeah.
and
It
so
should
people
be
can
transparent. People
be
should know. People should
yes.
know. It should be
Yeah, no,
transparent.
you don't wanna be
Just
surprised
to
once you
hide.
get a
Yeah,
manager.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
yeah.
Let me ask you this then. So let's say, and this comes up quite a bit, and like, let's say you create a beautiful environment for high
Okay.
performance and people feel
Mhm.
safe. There's this other trap that I've seen play out where the high performer themselves is actually driving themselves the hardest
Yeah,
innately, right? And I'm sure you
yeah,
can relate with your career,
yeah,
right? And internally we're driven, and early in our careers, like working hard and
yeah,
delivering really drives success. And it would have been even in this environment, and even with clarity of roles, really it's internal, right?
yeah,
So how could is there something you've seen but again, sorry, this as we know, going through your mid-career can really hit a snag with all
yeah.
the demands that kind of come at people in mid-career beyond just focus on the career and early career
Mhm.
success. So how do you help sometimes high performers who are really ambitious, but have to make these internal boundaries clearer
Yeah.
for themselves so that they don't drive themselves into burnout just from continuing what made them successful in the first place?
Yeah, it's such a great question, and I wish I knew this in my early 30s, you know?
Mm,
I suffered from that, and I'm,
mm,
more mature now, knowledgeable, and
mm.
have since become a certified leadership and life skill coach. So I will tell you
Oh.
what talk to the high performers that I mentor
Mhm.
and coach on a regular basis. It is the oxygen mask analogy that we have on airplanes, right?
Yes, okay, yes, yeah,
Right. So, you cannot do anything if you don't put that mask on yourself first and breathe
of
first.
course.
You push yourself to a limit. So if you're not taking care of yourself first, you're no good to anybody. And what I also tell people is that, no one person is bigger than the company. Nobody,
Mhm.
not me, not the CEO, not the CFO. No one person is bigger than the company. The most important people in your lives should be those that are important to you in your family, your whatever whoever you call family, right?
Mhm,
Because you are irreplaceable to them.
mhm.
Irreplaceable to them. That should be your main focus, right?
Yeah.
So make that your main focus. Concentrate on that. Come in, of course, with the great work that you will do, but
Mhm.
it also comes back to that trusted relationship I talked about earlier.
Yep. Mhm,
If you have that with your leader should be noticing that, well, Sandra's not looking great. I see her online all the time. She's
mhm.
in when she's on holiday. She missed her son's baseball game or whatever it is. You
Yeah,
know,
let's have a
let's
chat.
let's have a conversation, you know? You don't need to be on at 10 o'clock at night. Your family needs you first.
Mhm,
You are an irreplaceable mother to them.
mhm.
And when you are fulfilled at home, you'll be fulfilled at work, but don't give that up for us.
Yeah, that's so funny. I mean, that absolutely makes sense and lands. It's so funny. When I was a tech leader, I say one of my things was always almost first thing is to talk to people about how tech is probably not the solution to their problem.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
so funny when you say you would think chief people officer would tell people you have to work harder, performance, and all this, but you're like actually telling people, please go, please do not
Please
be
go
doing that.
home, spend time with your family, recharge, reboot, because, I mean, I've been in so many companies in this 37 career history. And I've heard so many times, "Oh, we can't lose him or her. She's so vital to the organization." They leave the company, guess what? Survives, moves on, surprisingly still meets everything. But,
Mhm.
losing your family, that's not okay.
Yeah,
That's not okay.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you got to focus on that first. And when you feel fulfilled, then you can be your best self at work, you
Hmm.
know? And burnout is an interesting concept because, you know, people drive hard for a certain period of time. There's times in our work life where like there's a very
Yep.
critical project that needs all hands on deck,
Hmm.
and you can do that for a short period of time,
Hmm.
right? Especially if you feel passionate about the work that you do, especially if you love the work that you do. You will drive hard, work hard because you're so engaged. But that's only sustainable, Sandra, for a short period of time.
Yeah.
That cannot go on in an indefinite amount of time. That's when burnout happens.
Hmm.
Even if you love the work that you do, even
Yes.
if you love the people you work with, you will burn out eventually, right?
Hmm.
Burnout also happens when you don't love your work, you hate your boss, your team's crap, and you don't like what you
Yes.
do. You're gonna burn out even if you work 9 to 5 because you hate where you go in. And I will tell you,
Yes.
nothing is worth it. The only thing you can do in those situations, if you can't change your
Yeah.
environment, remove yourself from the environment because there's lots of great companies out there, lots of great teams.
Hmm.
So take yourself out.
Yeah.
If you can't change people, you change yourself and you leave.
That's candid advice for everybody. Should probably call that episode. You can't cheat people. You change yourself. change, change yourself. Um, you've shared some great indicators of burnout or when a manager should kind of step in. You share
Yeah,
a lot of these kind of
yeah.
symptoms, right?
But I would say
Mhm.
that if you have that relationship and you have those regular check-ins, you're gonna notice before you need to step in, right? Because
Yes.
the relationship is solid. Yeah.
So the other one that comes up, and I know we talked about burnout, but the other one that, of course, all the data is showing that is really detrimental to organizational performance and people's productivity and well-being is the engagement, like, and the
Mhm,
disengagement of staff.
mhm.
Do you have strong thoughts on that as well, like the way you do on the burnout element?
Listen, engagement is key, right?
Yeah.
Because as I said when we
Mhm.
started, everything we do is through people, and we know the data's been there for years. More engaged employees are more productive, more satisfied,
All of it. Yeah.
come in energized, all of that. So, all of that, it can't just be through communication, right? You can't just have pizza parties and think people
Yeah.
are going to be engaged, right? It really is about the day to day. And I say this and I'll use this example and I've used it before. Like, you can't just give your wife flowers on the anniversary and think you've got a great marriage,
Oh,
right?
that's a great
It's
analogy. Oh
it's
my
it's
gosh.
what
Yeah.
you do every day, what you do, how you talk to each other, what is the relationship building every single day, right? So and you can't just talk the talk, it has to be through actions, right? So that
Yeah.
is a leadership responsibility. It is tone at the top. It's modeling the behavior. It's saying, like I said, Sandra, log off, go spend time with your family. Or I got you, Sandra. I got your
Hmm.
back. You go on
Hmm.
holiday, I'm your backup. No one's gonna call you. I will take care of things, right? So it could be big things like that or little things every single day. Having the best employee offerings and programs like great pay and benefits, that's table stakes. We should all be offering that to our employees, right?
Hmm.
But you could have
Uh-huh.
a great benefit package, an RSP program, but if you don't have that day to day, relationship, it
Mhm.
doesn't matter. That's what really matters, what counts.
Yeah, absolutely. I changed my mind. I'm gonna name the episode, "You Can't Just Give Flowers and Expect Great Marriage."
We got so many follow-ups after this now.
Yes, totally. Because to me, and that actually goes back to even the point you made is so strong around, engagement, but also it goes even
Yeah,
back to what you said earlier about performance is a continuous
it's a
thing.
continuous
It's
journey.
continuous improvement.
Yes.
It's really, and then this gets us into trouble when we're thinking, "Oh, we're gonna build leaders with a workshop or this injection," right? Or that thing. That's what actually to me is
Yeah,
like the flower analogy is so strong there.
yeah,
Exactly. It's like
yeah,
it's helpful. Of course it's helpful, right? You
yeah,
recognize a big moment, you get picked for a special program. But
yeah,
it's not gonna be connecting to the culture of trust,
right.
performance in a sustainable way, and the continuous improvement and delivery that really is needed to succeed in the modern world today, right?
You're absolutely right. And what I've said to aspiring leaders is that, look, leadership is a skill just like anything else. It is a
Yes.
calling for sure, right?
Yes.
You have
Yes.
to have the calling, but it's something I take very seriously. I learn about it, I read it, I
Yes.
study it, and it is a privilege to be in a leadership position. And I've told myself this throughout my whole career as a leader is I've got to earn the right to sit in this seat every single day. So,
Yeah.
like I said earlier, you're only as good as your last home run, right?
Yes.
What am I doing today and what am I doing tomorrow to ensure that my team, not just my HR team that reports to me, but the organization, because I have
Yeah.
organization leadership too, is getting the best of what they need to thrive in this organization.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you got to
No.
lead with empathy, right?
Yes. Yes.
Empathy is key. It is a skill set I think that in previous leadership generations
Mhm.
we didn't think about. We didn't think
Yes.
about empathy. We didn't
Yes.
think about vulnerability.
Mhm.
We saw those as weaknesses, and in fact, vulnerability, empathy, kindness are probably the best strengths of a leader.
Yeah. I think you're totally right. We didn't, and that this is a little bit where we got ourselves as a society, I think, in a
Yeah,
little bit of trouble because we didn't think about those things. And I don't know if it's correct to say, but my opinion, I guess, from my person, is just that it wasn't as crucial as
yeah,
it is today because, and maybe because we had stronger, societal structures, or ultimately we worked less as, like the demands were quieter, et cetera. And I don't want to make any crazy statements out here, but to me, it seems like since we all recognize the pace of change is just accelerating
yeah.
and with AI
Uh,
and everything, it's
I
like,
don't know, Sandra. I might disagree with you there,
great, perfect,
because,
great.
when I was, back in my career when I was an HR business partner and a young mother coming up, I would have appreciated kindness from my
Oh,
leader. I
yeah,
would have
yeah,
appreciated empathy from my leader, but it just wasn't there. And all the horrible things that we went through during the pandemic,
yeah,
I think what the pandemic did teach us is more about mental health and how to recognize it
right.
and how to show up with kindness, with empathy, with vulnerability. Regardless of your level of work, we all went through a lot together. It
Yeah,
didn't matter what your leadership level was. Everyone
right.
had difficulty, whether you had aging parents, young kids, schooling
Right.
at home,
Yeah,
you can't see your friends. Everyone was on the same playing field,
everyone. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I think there was a shift in that just to have more of a focus on empathy, kindness, vulnerability.
No, that
'Cause
makes a lot
Those
of sense.
those competencies were always critical to leaders.
Yeah. Just where does is yeah, no, actually, I love that, actually, because that's why I was like, I was kinda qualified because I'm like, it sounds bad to say it, but I
Yeah.
just know right now it's almost like you can't survive without it, or we're really
Yeah,
flailing
yeah.
without it.
I don't think we could ever survive without it. I think
Yes.
we just
Yeah.
took it because there are
We just
such
took it.
so
That's
many
what I
bad
probably
leaders
mean.
out
We took
there.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
and,
okay, yeah, yeah,
and again, we gotta look at what did the pandemic teach us? It was
yeah,
horrible, but at least we got some movement out of it on the leadership journey,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And on work-life harmony, if you
yeah,
will, how we can work differently
yeah.
and still be productive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
No, I love that. That's a really powerful perspective because I like to always think about all the craziest things that happen to you.
yeah,
You say you wouldn't choose them, but
yeah,
it's really healthy to look back and say what was good about going through it, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, and that's like I really like that. Like, we're like global leveling that we had,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Everybody was suffering in a way.
yeah.
And
Like a
yeah, I
whole
like your
blur now, it's like a blur, right?
yeah,
It's so funny, it's like a blur.
It really is. I like that we stepped backwards a little bit, but I was
Yeah.
thinking just from your perspective, what do you think going forward is going to be the thing that's going to be in style? Like what kind of capability is going to be critical for the next, like, looking forward 3 to 5 years or so? We
Yeah.
can't look too far in too not too far, but just going, yeah, a few
Yeah,
years
I mean, it's
forward.
hard to predict 3 years, right? Because the whole world is changing in this world
Yes.
of AI. But I do think, to reiterate these points that we just talked about on
Yeah.
these competencies, I think they're gonna be even more prevalent. Leaders have to learn how to live in this hybrid work environment, right? And how
Mm-hmm.
you lead through that. We have to understand how to
Mm.
lead through different
Mm.
generations. We've got Gen Zs, millennials, Gen
Yeah.
Xers, all in one, workplace. So how to, be able to approach each generation what they need. And many of the things that people need are all the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hear a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things about, oh, Gen Zs want flexibility. Guess what? Everybody does. Everybody does. So I
Yeah.
think, the empathy piece,
Yeah.
the flexibility piece, learning to, lead the different generations in this hybrid world that we have. And in the ever changing world of AI, and what does that mean? There's going to
Yeah.
be a lot of, I'm going to say, anxiety about that, and
Mm-hmm.
again, how do you deal with anxiety? You're gonna come from a place of empathy, right?
Yeah. At
So
least.
all of these competencies that came to light post the pandemic, I think they're just gonna get more and more critical on how we lead people in organizations.
Yeah, no, that's super. That makes a lot of sense. I
Yeah.
know we're gonna look as you wrap things up. I was gonna say I like to say to give my guests, I say a magic wand.
Okay.
And it's a power, but also it's a trick because
Yeah.
it's asking you to prioritize
Oh,
all
wow.
the great advice that we just shared. So if there's leaders out there that don't have the experience that you have,
Yeah.
but are
Yeah.
looking to help their team and or elevate their leadership or performance quickly, what's the top thing, the one thing you would say to them to start doing this immediately?
Mm, mm. What's the one thing that I would say? Be a learner.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Be a learner, because you got to open your mind, because sometimes when people come into leadership roles, they are trying to, how am I going to say this? Be authentic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Be who you
Mm-hmm.
are. Don't be somebody else, right? Because they might envision a leader, oh, I should behave this way. I should act this way. I got
Yes.
to
Yes.
be charming and gregarious. And like a lot of introverts are great leaders. Okay. You
Mm-hmm.
don't, you don't need to be somebody else. So be who you are and be a learner, because every day is going to be different. Just when you think you got it all right, something's going to change. There's going to be, we don't want another pandemic, touch wood, but there's going to be AI, there's going to be something.
Yeah.
How do I lead? How do I lead differently? And
Mm-hmm.
every day, try and be better than the day you were before, because your team and your people are counting on you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really great advice, and I think it is great for people. It's really important to share because I think again,
Yeah.
traditionally we don't think about being like authentic that way
Yeah.
always at work,
Yeah.
right? So I
I
really
can say, like,
appreciate
I
that.
read a lot of books, I read a lot of books, I watched a lot of YouTube, I listened to a lot of podcasts. I learned from all of the famous leaders that are out there and the ones that came before me, right?
Hmm.
There's
Yeah,
no way, Sandra, I have all the answers. There's no
no,
way. There's
yeah,
no way anybody does. So when you're a learner and you're listening to those and you take bits of pieces
yeah,
of whatever you can learn and you apply it to yourself, to your own authentic self, that's who shows up in the world.
yeah. That's beautiful, and that's a beautiful note to end our episode on.
Okay.
Um, Thank you so much, Suda, for your
This was
time
so
and
fun.
sharing your thoughts. It was so fun to talk to you.
Great
Thank
to
you
talk
so
to
much.
you.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Okay, bye for now.